What's going on YouTube? Cloverbell's here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and we're finally releasing our 5 Regulation E teams for the month of October. So, you know, they delayed it so long until finally they released the rule set for Regulation E. We've been waiting for like so long, and then, you know, they dropped it literally like right when the rank ladder reset. So, pleased to see that it was exactly as we've been preparing for. So that would have been great, because if it wasn't, that would have not been great, because then all of our videos and teams would have been for naught, right? But thankfully it is what it is. And now what we're going to do is we're going to show you all 5 rentals, and like we always do with our rental teams, you know, we'll explain how the team works, and then we'll transition into the Pokepaste and just explain why we did the EV spreads the way we did them. All right, so without wasting any further time, let's just go straight into the first rental over here. All right, so this is rental number 1, and again, once I titled it Standard 6, just like some of the other Standard 6s that I've released on the channel in previous months. So basically what I like to do is just show a Standard 6 at the given moment within the meta, and because it's so early meta, this is like a very typical build that you'll see every single time on like Rank Ladder. So it's an easy one to start off with. Again, it's just like a Tornadus hyper offensive team. I like to call it balanced Tailwind offense to an extent, right? It's not just like click Tailwind and then go nuts. You know, there is, you know, a lot of tools to the team that can give you like a little bit more balanced play, you know, help in terms of like positioning wise. You have Intimidate support from the Landorus here. You have Fake Out Pressure from the Rillaboom. You have Speed Control, of course, from your Tornadus, as well as your Fluttermane, you know, because it does have Icy Wind there. And then from there, you know, you can kind of just reposition wise, you know, with U-turns from your Landorus and Rillaboom, depending on certain things. So this way you can recycle your Intimidates and Fake Outs, which is kind of why I made the change at the end, maybe like early last night, where there was an Iron Hands in that Rillaboom spot, you know, because Iron Hands is Iron Hands, right? But then I made a quick change there, and I said, you know what, I think Rillaboom works a little bit better here in the Iron Hands. Not to say the Iron Hands didn't work, it definitely did. But what I wanted to do now is like, you know, just in terms of like pivoting potential with like U-turns from Landorus and Rillaboom, cycling out Fake Outs and Intimidates, great positioning wise. And then at the same time, what it does is it supports the Ogerpon in a sense, right? Because now you have 2 Grassy Glide users within Grassy Glide terrain. And then coupled with Chien-Pao, you got 3 priority attacks, right? Which is great into like the mirror matchup for like Tailwind stuff, as well as even Trick Room, because, you know, Trick Room, you don't really care about it because you have a priority move. And then what Rillaboom also can do that Iron Hands cannot is take away the Indeedee terrain. And that's very important, because the Indeedee terrain pretty much denies the priority moves, right? And then at the same time, the Psychic terrain boosts expanding force damage from something like the Armor Rouge, right? Or even just pure Psychic from something like Hatterene. But now that you have Rillaboom here, the Expanding Force can only hit 1 target, right? Which is always pretty good. And then you're allowed to Fake Out because you change the terrain, which is always very important. But then from there, of course, you have standard hyper-offensive stuff with Landorus, Tornadus, Fluttermane, Chien-Pao. The Fluttermane is a choice specs rather than the one that we typically like to use, which is the Booster Energy set. But choice specs here is also relatively strong, especially with, you know, Icy Wind Speed Control here. So it's going to do a lot of damage. And then, of course, we already know what Chien-Pao can do, boosting the damage of Landorus, Ogerpon, Rillaboom altogether, and even itself, right? So it's a typical 6, and you can climb some easy ladder wins relatively easily, and it's also a very good best of 3 tournament team as well. All right, so now let's go into the EV spreads just to see how we did our calcs. Okay, so here we have the EV spreads on the screen, and right away we'll start with the Tornadus. We always like to use Bolt Tornadus at the given moment, just because of the defensive bulk that you get to have here in this sense, right? Because it's meant for Dragonite E-Speed, okay? And you don't have to burn your Terra necessarily. And that is Adamant 255 Extreme Speed Terra Normal boosted with Chien-Pao. If you want to use your Terra, you're free to use it, but if you can't, then you can still live it and live to tell the tale, right? And then from there, it can also survive the Adamant 156 Urshifu Surging Strikes with Mystic Water, so you have that going for you as well. And in case you have the question of why am I using Covert Cloak and Terra Ghost at the same time, the Covert Cloak, you know, yes, it's for the Fake Out stuff, which is what Terra Ghost can help you take care of, but it's also for the stat reduction at the same time. You know, stuff like opposing Icy Winds, you're not going to be able to suffer the stats reduction for. And like I said, the Dragonite E-Speed, which is what the Covert Cloak can't really help you for, but it does help you in that sense for Dragonite, right? Landers here, standard set here with max speed adamant, so it's hitting 143. That will outspeed something like a Dragapult, of course, after that 1.5 calc boost. The adamant nature here with 116 is the second bump in the attack stat. And like I said in every single team building video, if you want to know what EV bumps are, make sure you comment in the video description below, because it's a very fundamental aspect of competitive Pokemon. If you don't know what EV bumps are, make sure you ask. I will tell it to you with a reply. And then the rest literally just went into HP, right? I put 4-4 in defense and SPDF and just dumped the rest into HP. I just really cared about the speed and the second benchmark in the attacking stat. The Flutter Mane is a really cool timid spread. Okay, first of all, that'll outspeed the modest Flutter Manes because they hit 187. This variant will hit 189, so you get to outspeed, and then as well as like a speed creep in that sense. So we got that going for you. And then the physical bulk with 212 HP and 124 defense. That will do a couple of things. First of all, you will survive a heavy slam from an adamant 156 Iron Hands after an intimidate from a lander. So you have that going for you. But also, the more obvious calc is the Chien-Pao stuff. So you're going to survive adamant, Chien-Pao, crash, sucker punch, spinner, whatever it is. You're going to live it. And that's great because, you know, it's just optimal to have bulk on your Flutter Mane, right? Unless you have a sash. But you have that going for you. You can also survive adamant 196 lander stomping tantrum boosted by Chien-Pao. You will also live that as well. So if that comes up, you can definitely take that at full. But after that, you know, the rest we just put into special attack. And you might say 36 as timid nature is a little bit weak, but you know, you just factor in like this could have been modest 36. So you're getting a boost anyway, but then you have the choice spec. So that'll compensate for your lack of special attack investment anyway. I just like having bulk on our Flutter Manes here, and it has worked relatively well, and you'll be very, very pleased. I promise you, this is a good Flutter Mane spread to pick up and use. Whether you like this team or whether you want to use it on another team, you know, this is a good bulky, timid Flutter Mane spread. We have other teams with the modest bulky set, which we'll get into in a second, but this is the timid one. Then from here, Chien-Pao, of course, adamant 252 to 52. Nothing else needs to be said there. The Ogerpon, that speed investment with 188 speed will put it at 169, so that'll outspeed Chi-Yu. So that's pretty good. And then you hit the second benchmark in the adamant stat. Actually, you're not even adamant. You just hit 156 attack anyway for Jolly. But, you know, remember, you're the Heart Flame Mass Ogerpon, so you're going to get a +1 boost anyway. So in this sense, I prefer to just have a little bit more speed on the Ogerpon this time. So this way, you know, you have the attack boost going and you get the speed from the Jolly, so it works out. Okay, then with the Rillaboom here, adamant 116, you know, again, hitting that bump and then max HP, you know, just to be relatively bulky here. And then 76 SPDF hits an even number, which will, of course, optimize your Assault Vest usage. And, you know, I always like to try and get that even number there, because if I get an odd number, it'll become a decimal, and then the decimal rounds down. So, you know, I wanted to make sure that was a little bit even. And then some speed investment, you know, because after an Icy Wind, you will outspeed Chi-Yu as well. So then you can hit it with the potential Wood Hammer, U-turn, whatever it is you need to hit it, you will outspeed it, unless it is Scarf, of course, right? But that's pretty much it. So that's the first team. So let's go into the second rental. All right, this is rental number 2, and it's one of my favorite ones because it already has 2 tour results, including top 20 in that 400+ person trainer school tournament. This was the 6 that was used by Cell VGC. He used our squad. And then since then, we've made a couple of minor tweaks. But first, let's explain the team archetype in general. Roaring Moon is very, very good this time around, as is the Dragon typing, just because you're able to, you know, have good resistance against Fire, Water, Grass stuff, which is what the Ogerpons have. And then Knockoff is just so huge for it this time around. And then you have the Booster Energy to give you, you know, a straight-up attack boost. Tailwind versus Dragon Dance is a little bit subjective. Some people definitely love Dragon Dance. We have another team with Roaring Moon with Dragon Dance. That's similar here, but this variant is what got the results already. I do like Tailwind in this sense just because Moon benefits, Landers benefits, Flutter Mane benefits, even Ogerpon benefits, right? So in terms of like mirror matchups, you can definitely get the edge there, which is why I went Tailwind in that sense. And then you have strong acrobatics pressure, especially with Terra Flying, right? And then Milotic, one of the new mons in Regulation E. Very, very much benefits Roaring Moon here because you have to think twice if you want to intimidate it, right? Because if you do intimidate it, then you're just activating competitive. If you want to click an Icy Wind, what you can do, or what if the opponent wants to click Icy Wind, what you can do is switch in the Milotic and get the competitive boost that way. I've done that a bunch of times, and then just Milotic was just dealing way too much damage after that. But the one change that we did do on the Milotic is instead of Recover, we did do Haze here, and one might think I probably should have put Citrus Berry on this thing, but I guess Leftovers is still okay. The reasoning for Haze is because, there's just so much setup right now. There's Swords Dance Ogerpon, there's, Clangorous Soul, Como-O, there's Belly Drum Snorlax running around, all these things with setup moves. Haze is just important, and I think it works out well here on this kind of team here anyway. Landers, of course, stay straight up Scarf Landers. We got Iron Hands again, of course. So we got Intimidate, we got Fake Out, and then our Ogerpon is providing our redirection support. Again, it's the Fire one this time around, so we can always switch that into a Fairy type attack, for Roaring Moon in case it does happen. And then the Flutter Mane this time is a substitute variant, right? Because I think sometimes that helps in some of those Trick Room games. So sometimes what I like to do is just leave the Flutter Mane and then just click sub, and then we're kind of chilling from there, because then you just alternate your protects, stall out the Trick Room, and you have Landers and Iron Hands, to help you position with Intimidate support and Fake Out pressure. So that's one way to get around that. But Roaring Moon, Milotic, very, very good together. And then at the same time, look at this Landers set. It has Earthquake as well. So what you can do sometimes is after the Tailwind support, then the Landers is able to just click Earthquake next to a Terraflying Roaring Moon. And that's a lot of damage coming from this Landers here. And then Roaring Moon can just, sweep up whatever is left, pick up the scraps after all that Earthquake damage, right? So you got that going for you in that sense. And then, of course, Ogerpon just does Ogerpon things along with Iron Hands. Also can help you in those Trick Room games, all right? So let's go into the Pokepaste for the squad. Okay, so here is the paste on the screen here for this team. So basically with the Roaring Moon, 124 speed investment, we'll put it at 310, and 310 will outspeed 307. And who's hitting 307? That is the +1 speed boosted Flutter Mane, getting the booster energy boost, right? So you'll outspeed that with Tailwind, and then from there you have the second bump in the attack stat, 164, putting it at that 198 benchmark there, and then 212 HP is just the remainder in bulk. And then from there, the Milotic, just 107 speed with the 44 speed investment, which means after Tailwind, you'll hit 214. That'll outspeed Dragapult. And then Modest Nature, of course, just the first benchmark there with 76 investment. And then the 228 HP, 156 defense combination will allow you to take a Wild Charge from an Iron Hands, right? And then even then, you have a Landers to help you out there in that sense. Speaking of Landers, 252 HP yet again with the Choice Scarf. And then, not as much attack as the other one. This one is only 36 versus 116. So 80 EVs off. So means you're only hitting the first bump in the attack stat. 212 HP, just like the Roaring Moon. Okay, Flutter Mane here. So this is our bulky, modest Flutter Mane set that we like to use. And it hits 175 speed as a stat, which means you can outspeed max speed Adamant Dondozo because they cap at 174. After the commander boost, and with the 36 special attack investment, that'll hit 176 special attack, which means you outspeed your own speed by 1, which means you're getting a special attack boost. And then the remainder bulk with 116 HP and 196 defense. That is again helping you against the Chien-Pao adamant attacks, the Icicle Crashes, Spinners, Sucker Punches. You're gonna live that as well. The Iron Hands here is back on this team. So the first team is the only team without the Iron Hands. This is always our Iron Hands set here with 156 attack, the second bump, max Spadef, 76 HP, and then a little bit of speed for speed creeping. Standard set here with Fake Out, Wild Charge, Drain Punch, and Heavy Slam here. So normally you might even find Iron Hands with Terra Grass, but things have changed a little bit in Regulation E, just because the Fire Ogerpon is a lot more common. So Water is able to resist that, and then at the same time still neutralize the ground weakness as well as the fairy weakness. Technically, Fire can also help you resist the, first of all, it'll help you resist Moonblast. It'll also help you resist the Heart Flame Ogerpon stuff. All right, and then you still are weak to the ground coverage, something like Landers, but all in all, Fire, Terra is still very, very good. It might even be better than Water, but I like Water right now. I think it's serving its purpose relatively well. And I think either fire or water are better than Terra Grass Iron Hands at the given moment. Then over here, the Ogerpon set here. So it looks like our other one, but this is an adamant one. So this one is not as fast. It's a little bit slower. That's because, again, you know, we want a little bit more stronger Ogerpon damage. You know, second bump here in the attack stat. So that's always relatively good. And then you just have Ivy Cudgel Wood Hammer here. No Grassy Glide because we don't have Rillaboom, Follow Me, and Spiky Shield support. So, you know, it has a ton of HP as well, but still a little bit bulky, which is exactly what we want. And then, you know, second bump there in the attack stat for good damage. All right, so that's rental number 2. Let's go into rental number 3. All right, rental number 3 is our Cresselia Ursaluna squad with the Water Ogerpon this time around. And if you remember, we did a little bit of a video on this team. This was the 6 we originally made that was taken by Sebastian and Durian. And then they improved it a little bit, and then they were able to, you know, get a winning result in that tournament that we talked about in that video. So that was the Hemi tournament tour, right? Yes, it was. So then from there, we took some information, and then we made a little bit of some adaptation since then. First of all, with the Cresselia, we've opted for Terra Fire this time around, which again helps against, you know, Chiyu, you know, and it helps against Flutter Mane in that sense. The double up, of course, you know, even from Chien-Pao, you can even resist that. And then at the same time, you know, Levitate with Terra Fire is also relatively good. You don't have that ground weakness because you have Levitate, and then you can still resist the Ivy Cudgel from the Fire Ogerpon. So Terra Fire, anything is actually relatively good right now. Originally it was like Terra Electric, so you had no weaknesses whatsoever, but I still like Terra Fire at this given moment just because of that resist. Psychic, of course, is a good stat move there, so I feel like, yeah, let's put it back in there. The Ursaluna, we switched it to Terra Grass, just like Sebastian and Dorian suggested, so a nice, good defensive Terra there, especially against something like a Water Ogerpon. Whether you can resist either the grass or the water type attack, I think was very, very good. We had Terra Normal there originally for a little bit more damage, especially with Helping Hand, but I think the defensive Terra with a little bit more longevity just made sense. Iron Hands here is Terra Fire, unlike the other Iron Hands, so this one you can also experiment with this Iron Hands, but again, same idea as the Crest Terra Fire. It's just good resistance overall against what's running around at the given moment. The Ogerpon here, this one still has Ivy Cudgel and Horn Leech for your 2 stabs. You still get redirection support with Follow Me and, of course, the Spiky Shield. The Arcanine here is Terra Grass, just like the Ursaluna. And again, the Ogerpon is really supporting the Ursaluna and the Arcanine, right? Because, you know, you don't want to be taking water type attacks from both of these, so the Ogerpon can help you support there. But you get Intimidate support here from the Arcanine. You get redirection from the Ogerpon. You get Fake Out from the Iron Hands. A little bit of speed control from the Cresselia, you know, because that's your Trick Room setter. So you have a lot of good tools here. And then at the same time, you know, you have a priority with extreme speed, of course. That's pretty cool. And then strong Rock Slides and strong Flare Blitzes from this Arcanine, along with the Citrus Berry for a little bit more longevity. Is very, very good. And then the Flutter Mane is our Booster Energy Flutter Mane yet again, this time with Dazzling Gleam as good spread damage rather than the substitute, because we are the Trick Room team rather than trying to go against a Trick Room team. So it just makes sense to put that second fairy type attack here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the spreads. All right, so taking a look at our EV spreads here. So this is a calm Cresselia like we had originally. Max HP, of course, was 76 Spit Def for the benchmark there, and the remaining went into all that bulk with defense, right? Calm Nature Cresselia combined with Intimidate support. So you're getting already a Spit Def boost with the Calm Nature. Then you combine this with Intimidate, and the Cresselia just lives everything. And it's a bulky Pokemon enough as it is. So yeah. Then the Ursaluna, I just simply went, you know, the benchmark there in the special attacking stat. 156 HP for, you know, a benchmark number, and the rest literally went in Spit Def. You know, 212, of course. You know, we don't have an Assault Vest, so the more it had, the better. 12 speed, you know, just for like potential speed ties and speed creeps. Iron Hand, same exact set. The only thing is we outspeed our other Iron Hands by about 2 investments in the speed, because this is 36 versus 20. Still relatively the same idea. And then the Ogerpon here is max HP. Along with second benchmark in the attack stat. I put 12 Spit Def there just to get a nice even number for the Spit Def boost. And then after that, you know, you just have a little bit of speed, capping at 139 speed. That's another benchmark number. And then 20 defense was like the leftovers. So yeah. Then the Arcanine here. So 236 HP, good for the berry. Adamant 116, you know, another EV bump there. 140 speed will get it to about, I think it's either 127, 128. So that's already that's one of those marks that, you know, after a +1 you can outspeed a modest Fluttermane in that sense, right? And then literally just leftovers in 4 defense and 12 speed F. Fluttermane here is the exact same set as our other one, so nothing else needs to be said about it. Again, it's just surviving the Chien-Pao stuff, and then you're, you know, you have one more special attack than your speed, so this way you get a special attack boost. All right, that's it for this one. Let's go into rental number 4. All right, this is rental number 4. This is one of my favorites just because, you know, it has a Galarian Moltres here. And this one already has 1 tour results. It did top cut one of those online tours from Limitless. I forget the name of it at this given moment, but hey, man, the squad just works, right? And we got Sinistcha here, so again, another one of those new Pokemon that we can use and utilize just because of the utility it has, right? And if you look at Moltres, it supports it very, very well because, again, Sinistcha loves to support Pokemon that like to dip into their HP for whatever reason, and then just, you know, heal it back up with Hospitality, right? So stuff like Como enjoys it because of the clanging scales, Snorlax enjoys it because of Belly Jump, and then Moltres is another one in that category that, you know, if you're taking past 50% damage, you're going to dip into the Berserk range. Sinistcha can recover past that threshold, so that way you can dip yet again within that Berserk range, and, you know, you just go from there. But anyway, I always like to say you need Intimidate, Fake Out, Redirection for something like Moltres. It needs a lot of support, but it can also pay dividends for you because it does have good matchups into certain things within the meta. But, you know, we bring back Iron Hands and Landers here. The same Moltres core that we brought in Regulation D, now we're bringing here in Regulation E because it just works. And now we get to add something like Sinistcha here as opposed to something like Amoonguss in this sense. Not that Amoonguss is bad, of course, but, you know, we get a little bit of speed control here with Sinistcha. We get damage mitigation with Strength Sap and even Matcha Gotcha to a degree, right? Because you have the chance to burn. And then you still get the redirection support from the Rage Powder and even Rocky Helmet for, you know, for extra chip damage. Ninetales is back here again with the screen support. Actually, this is the first one that we had with Ninetales. I said it was back, but that's because we have one more team with Ninetales. But screens, Moltres, you know, just think about like Grimmsnarl, Moltres, screens, Ninetales. Providing the screens here with the Roarville is very, very good because then the Moltres gets to soak up a ton of damage, and things that may deal too much will probably just barely dip it into Berserk range, and then you still get to have the healing benefit of something like Citrus Berry or the Sinistcha in that sense. And at the same time, you get Blizzard Spam, you get Moonblast Pressure. It's a good, decent, bulky support Pokemon, which is exactly what we want Ninetales to do on this team. And then from there, the Heatran is just great pivot with the Moltres, of course. Moltres not enjoying Ice-type attacks, you can switch in Heatran. Not enjoying Electric-type attacks, you've got Landorus, Iron Hands, and even Heatran for that regard. And of course, it is a Terra Poison Moltres, you know, for the Fluttermane shenanigans. And literally everything else is just relatively standard here. So let's go into the paste and see how we did our spreads. All right, so here are the spreads here. So with Moltres, 212 HP, 132 defense. Again, that 192 mark is just great for the berry. And then from there, you can take a Wild Charge from an Iron Hands. Whether you have the Veil or not, or even Intimidate support, you can take it. And then 76 special attack investment hits the first bump there. And that's really all there is from the Moltres that you really need out of it. And just a little bit of speed. So, you know, I think it hits 121, so that's still pretty good. That's pretty good, you know, for the Genies after something like a +2. But again, we don't have Tailwind here, so it doesn't really matter a whole lot. But yeah, Sinistcha here, just 1 point in speed. You don't really need speed on Sinistcha. I just hit the second bump there in Modest Nature, and then literally just went full HP because it's already relatively bulky as it is defense-wise, and I just put a little bit more in speed up just to get a little bit of even in terms of stats. Didn't really do any damage calcs here for Sinistcha. Wasn't really necessary, at least I don't think so at the time of testing. But yeah, Ninetales here, that speed investment just to outspeed Chi-Yu, and then max HP, of course, just to be super bulky. We don't really need special attack on our Ninetales. I just rather have it bulky, you know, just to stay on the field and be annoying, clicking Blizzards and Moonblasts, of course. Landorus, same idea. This is the same Landorus as the other team. Max speed, second benchmark in attack with 116. The rest went into HP. Heatran here, 204 HP is the optimal number for leftovers. It hits 192. And then the 76 special attack, just like Moltres here, is the first benchmark in special attack. And then the 108 defense just gives a good bulk here. It allows you to live another Landorus Stomping Tantrum after that Landorus is intimidated. right? Assuming 116. So that was pretty good there. So I went for that calc. And again, this is no Terra needed, no Terra Grass. You will live it if you are at full. And if you die, that means he's more than 116. All right, or you just got an unfortunate roll in that sense as well. And then Iron Hands is just the same Iron Hands that we've always been using. All right, that is rental number 4. Let's move on to the last one. All right, last rental here. I just noticed the name is a little messed up, but that's okay. So this is the Baxcalibur Ninetales screens kind of team that I'm sure many of you have seen running around on ladder or at least in the online tours. So we might as well just have one made. This is a pretty cool one. Again, revolving around the Ninetales. This time the Ninetales has Icy Wind rather than Blizzard, so a little bit of speed control here. But Baxcalibur definitely enjoys Ninetales, especially with the defense boost that it gets from the snow, which allows it to run Scale Shot relatively well, because Scale Shot, you get that speed boost, but you get that defense drop. But sometimes that defense drop doesn't matter because you do get the benefit of the snow, and then at the same time you have an Aurora Veil. So it's almost like you're still getting a +1 in terms of that defense. And then that being said, that means we don't need Dragon Dance, right? We can just settle for the Swords Dance, so get even more damage if we ever need it, and then just go for like Icicle Spears and then Scale Shots. It does so much damage. Baxcalibur can sweep you if you allow it to. So there's that in that sense. Then you have typical cores here with like Landorus and Iron Hands and Ogerpon. So more Intimidate support, more Fake Out Pressure, more Redirection, everything to help this Baxcalibur get things going. It almost reminds you of our Moltres kind of team, right? Where you have a similar kind of idea, but again, it's a setup mod. So you always need these kinds of supports for a setup mod that you want to build around. And then this Heatran has Substitute here, so this is also pretty good in the Trick Room matchup. We don't have Sinistcha over here, so I feel like Sub Heatran does relatively well into like some of those Armor Rouge, Torkoal teams. Especially if you have the screens along with the sub, then the Heatran becomes very hard for that team to remove. And then you just support it with like Iron Hands and Landorus in that sense. And then after that, Baxcalibur kind of goes ham on those teams. But all in all, a lot of good tools here. Landorus, Ninetales will come as a lead a lot of times, sometimes, or even Ninetales, Baxcalibur. But even Iron Hands plus Ninetales is also pretty good as well. It just all depends on the matchup. So many different leads and combinations that you can do with this. And it functions relatively well. You have your double core here, Fire, Water, Grass, Dragon, Fairy, Steel. So lots of good play that you can do in terms of like positioning wise. But all in all, another fun one that you can consider. So let's take a look at the EV spreads. All right, so here we go with Baxcalibur here. So max speed puts it at 139, which is great because after a +1 or even coming from the Icy Wind, that allows you to, get into the 208 mark, which outspeeds 207. And who's hitting 207? Chenpaos and Fluttermanes that are timid nature, or jolly in that sense. Then you have the animate nature with 116, so that's the second benchmark there. And then the rest literally just went into HP. That's all I really did with Baxcalibur. Ninetales set is the same exact set as the other one, just Icy Wind instead of Blizzard. Just meant to outspeed Chi and be super bulky. Heatran, again, also the same defensive bulk, meant to take a Stomping Tantrum Landorus after your own Intimidate support. And I took a little bit off the Spidef and just added a little bit more speed here. And then the Ogerpon, same thing, second benchmark there, a little bit off the HP, put a little bit more in speed investment for speed creeping purposes. And then the Iron Hands is just literally the same exact Iron Hands as the almost every single I just love this Iron Hand set. 76, 156, 4, 252, 20. It has always been our Iron Hand set since Regulation D, and it has the results to back it up, so it's very, very good. Of course, if I had to like put it on a Tailwind team, I would like put it a little bit faster just to outspeed Chi and just Drain Punch that thing sometimes, so they don't ever see it coming. But and then Landorus, of course, like I said, is the same exact Landorus set. So that's it. Those are all the rentals. So let me know what you think. Let me know which one you try. And then from there, if this is something that you need help with, if you're trying to go to Peoria, if you've got a Premier Challenge, if you've got an online tournament, if you've got rank ladder that you need a team for, we've got you covered on the channel. Make sure you sign up for coaching, aka team building, as well. So if you look in the video description, the coaching link is available there. Just click that, click the tier 3 sub. And if you need a team that you're trying to build something for, then we can help you out there. Especially for something like, even Kitakami Prologue. I don't really focus on that one, but I've been asked so much about that for some reason. But I'll put one other video on that in the coming days. But if you need help building a team for Regulation E, feel free to reach out. Do the tier 3 sub. Also in the comment section, there is a pinned comment for that. So you can sub to the channel that way, and then of course just join the Discord, then message me, and then we can coordinate a time to meet and build you that squad from scratch that you need for said tournament, regional, or whatever it is you need it for. All right, we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and enjoy the teams.